I'm Dan Warren with Warren Window and Supply. As I read the question and I had some time to ponder, to me the question was an oxymoron because there are so many factors involved with success and moving forward. As Jim said, and I'll echo it, it's just plain hard work. And it's just putting your nose to the grind and not knowing when to stop. It takes sacrifice. It takes the hard work. It takes tenacity, and just that I don't want to fail. The one story that I'll share with you is we started our company with a post office box, a telephone number, my dad's station wagon, and my pickup. Now, we must have been an atrocious sight, but the company that previously represented Marvin Windows and Doors had taken on another line, and at our level, you don't do that. And they went on record telling this other company that we are going to seek a distributor. Well, we were fortunate enough to get the line. Hadn't been in business but a couple of months, and the guy that was running this other company that we took the line from called me up. He says, "Why don't you come on up and let's have a cup of coffee?" I said, "Okay." So now imagine a 27-year-old kid. Back in those days, I did wear a tie and I wore dress slacks. And so I go bebopping up there and sit down and have a cup of coffee with this guy. Now imagine, here's a business executive, three-piece suit. Back in those days, they were smoking cigars and had a cup of coffee. He said, "Come on in, sit down." We had a small chat and nice exchange, and I got up to go, and he shook my hand, and he said, "Kid, I'm going to bury you." Now, that's motivation, folks. That is motivation. My dad actually hired me on June 12th of 1972 following the flood to clean up the lumber yard where he worked. My father worked in the building business all of his life, was not an owner, just worked there. I flunked out of the School of Mines my first semester, and you know that's a little tough to take. That is failure. I went home and I told my dad, "I guess I'll just work at the lumber yard," and I won't repeat the exact words that my father said. I'll clean them up slightly. He says, "No kid of mine is going to be in the building material business. You're going to go get a college education. You're going to make something of yourself." So I went to National College of Business, graduated. My degrees are all in agriculture. All I ever wanted to do was look at a good set of Hereford cows from the top of a horse. I stayed working at the lumber yard, and I was making good money. And then this opportunity presented itself to be a distributor. As I said earlier, we're third generation. We've been in business 32 years. I'm proud to say that in those 32 years, we've only had 2 years that we lost money. One was a year that Ellsworth Air Force Base was put on the closure list. The next year was an engineered loss because I got out of some product lines. And I think the other thing to take away is you need to have focus. We tried various product lines. We tried getting into the interior millwork, which was interior doors and hardwood moldings and so on. We weren't good at that. And it took us about 12 years to realize that, and then we had to back out of that business. The other thing you have to constantly do is be prepared for change. Just because, my daughter's famous for this, just because you did it that way 30 years ago doesn't mean it's right today. And I've always welcomed change. I love change. I love mixing it up, and we've done very well at that. We've changed our whole business model in the last 4 years, where we used to sell exclusively to lumber yards. We are now selling to contractors and consumers. We now have control of our destiny, where before we didn't. And so don't be afraid. I'm a student of Tom Peters, and I'm sure many of you have read some of Tom Peters' books, and his famous saying was, "Fail forward faster." Don't be afraid to take risks. You know, that's how you're going to find out what works and what does not work. But don't get entrenched and be afraid. You have to be willing to take risks, calculated risks. Thank you.